Last Friday, the leaders of Turkey, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan signed a landmark defense pact called the Mecca Joint Defence Agreement. Dubbed by some as an Islamic NATO, the trilateral agreement stipulates that any armed attack against any one of the three states should be regarded as an attack against them all, echoing NATO's Article 5 Mutual Defence Clause. With the US-Iran war still unresolved, renewed escalation in Yemen and the Red Sea, and persistent tension between Israel and its neighbours, the Mecca Joint Defence Agreement is set against the backdrop of a turbulent Middle East. So in this video, we're going to explain the new Mutual Defence Pact, including what has inspired it, and what its potential consequences might be. We believe that quietly changing the facts or quickly deleting a video without explanation is a clear breach of your trust. So when we make mistakes, we have an entire policy designed around openly correcting them. Find out more about what we believe in our official manifesto. It's linked in the description of every one of our videos. The Mutual Defence Pact has actually been in the pipeline for some time now. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said that efforts have been underway for 2 years and 8 months. Over the course of this period, there's been much talk about the increased cooperation between Turkey, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, and also Egypt, although Egypt didn't sign up to the pact last week. And last September, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia actually signed their own bilateral defence pact. So this has clearly not come out of the blue, and these three aligned countries are no strangers to defence collaboration. For instance, Pakistan helped train Saudi forces for decades, and both Pakistan and Saudi Arabia are buyers of Turkish military hardware, including drones and warships. More recently, Saudi Arabia has sought to form and lead a military coalition to protect shipping in the Red Sea. Among more than a dozen countries that have expressed support are Turkey and Pakistan, although exactly how this coalition might function remains to be seen. Regardless, last week's trilateral agreement appears to be the most significant move so far. At a meeting in Mecca, Islam's holiest city, on Friday last week, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman signed the Mecca Joint Defence Agreement. While the precise details of the agreement have not been made public, a joint statement said that the pact was built upon their shared strategic interests and long-standing defence cooperation. The pact, the statement said, intended to further strengthen their collective security and promote peace, security and stability in the region and beyond by strengthening collective deterrence against any act of aggression. The agreement includes a NATO Article 5 style clause that states that any armed attack against any one of the three states should be regarded as an attack against them all. Each country brings something to the table. Saudi Arabia has its oil wealth and diplomatic clout in the Muslim world and beyond. Pakistan has a sizable military and is the only Muslim majority nation armed with nuclear weapons. And Turkey has a well-established defense industrial base and one of the most powerful militaries in the region. Following the signing of the agreement, the Saudi government said that it was not an effort to establish a military axis or sectarian bloc, nor was it linked to any nuclear ambitions or arms race. And the Turkish government has described the agreement as purely defensive in nature, adding that it is not against any specific actor. But when you look at the agreement against the backdrop of the ongoing turmoil in the Middle East, it's hard not to see it as a response to that, and specifically a response to the military action across the region by both Israel and Iran. Furthermore, one Saudi commentator close to the royal court said that the tripartite defense pact reflects the recognition that American deterrence has been significantly weakened, and that the Iranian threat will increasingly need to be managed by regional powers. Despite the Saudi, Turkish, Pakistani assertion that the defense pact is not aimed at any particular country, it has unsurprisingly not gone down particularly well with Iran. One Iranian politician who sits on the Iranian Parliament's National Security and Foreign Policy Commission wrote that the Saudis should know that the paper agreement with Turkey and Pakistan will not bring them security, just as years of one-sided milking by the Americans did not bring them security. Change your policies so that you do not have to beg for security from others. The Israeli government is unlikely to be pleased either, given that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has previously warned against an emerging Sunni axis. Nevertheless, each of these three countries, all regional powers in their own right, have their own respective security concerns and reasons why they want to strengthen their collective power and influence. Turkey, for instance, is locked in hostile rhetoric with Israel, with whom it's competing for influence in places like Syria. Israeli politicians have sought to paint Turkey as the new Iran, while the Turkish government has labelled Israel as the greatest threat to regional security and stability. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia has come under direct attack from Iran during the US-Iran war this year, and it now faces a renewed conflict with the Yemen-based Houthi rebels, who have been attacking Saudi energy infrastructure and Red Sea shipping. This is a particular concern for Saudi Arabia, as the Red Sea has become its primary oil export route due to the Iranian closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Pakistan has managed to stay out of the US-Iran war, instead pitching itself as a mediator, but it has not been conflict-free. Over the course of a number of days last year, Pakistan clashed with its primary rival, India, and in February this year announced that it was in open war against the Afghan Taliban, which it alleges of sponsoring attacks in Pakistan. The obvious question is, does this new defense pact mean that Turkey, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia are suddenly going to jump into each other's conflicts? Well, the answer is probably not. It's worth recalling that despite Saudi Arabia and Pakistan signing their own bilateral defense pact last year, and the subsequent deployment of Pakistani military hardware and troops in Saudi Arabia, Pakistan has not entered into the Iran war or intervened against the Houthis. Furthermore, Turkish Foreign Minister Fidan has said that, like with NATO, a country under attack would need to request assistance and define the type of help it requires, and that the practical implementation of assistance will be discussed by the allies in question. But we shouldn't downplay the significance of this development. Despite the vagueness of how the Mutual Defence Pact might be implemented, its very existence does increase the risk that these countries could be drawn into each other's military confrontations. But more broadly, it's significant because it's a step towards formalising the regional security architecture that could grow to include more countries, something that Turkey has raised the prospects of. And it highlights that the three allied regional powers are seeking to take greater charge of managing regional stability and security, rather than relying on external powers like the United States. And given Donald Trump's desire for US allies to do more burden sharing in regards to defense, this new agreement will go down well in Washington. Now, this story about the new Mecca Defense Pact is constantly updating as more and more outlets are reporting on it, so it might feel like it's hard to keep up with the ever-changing media landscape. Right now, there are 415 sources currently reporting on it, with most of the coverage coming from the right. This type of analysis is why Ground News has been our favourite way to stay up to date with the news since 2023. It's no secret by this point how much we're fans of Ground News. They've been long-time supporters of this channel and independent news media at large, and they truly help us to understand the political climate better. For example, without Ground News, we wouldn't be able to easily compare the headlines for this story on the Mecca Defense Pact and see that the left focuses on the mutual defense part of the pact, and the right looks at the impact on other countries, including Israel, Iran, and India. Ground News not only gives you an easy way to digest the news, but it also offers a comprehensive breakdown into the ownership, bias distribution, and factuality of each article, allowing you to dive even deeper. If you're worried about how much you can trust what's being said about a specific story, with the click of a button you can filter and sort every story by factuality level, helping you to easily grasp the reliability of each outlet. And with their blind spot feed, you're able to see everything you might not normally stumble across, both local and international, keeping you fully informed even outside your media bubble. Ground News is completely algorithm free too, so you're never forced into a narrative or told what to think. That's why we're partnering with them to offer 40% off their unlimited access Vantage plan. All you have to do is subscribe through the link in the description or go to ground.news/TLDR or scan the QR code on screen. And that way you'll be supporting an independent news platform working to make the media landscape more transparent.